I wanted to ask you, just jumping in, you need to tell us a story about Hawaii, working at a health snack and meal place, which you can tell us more about that too.
Okay.
And the VP of Dropbox stops in.
Ruchi Sangvi.
Okay. And
What's up, Ruchi?
you wind up having a conversation which leads to her starting a business in California that you sort of helped with. We just need that whole story.
Yeah, this is really fun. This was a major turning point in my life because I actually, for the first time, realized there's an opportunity here and I want to capitalize on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the story is I'm working at at a health bar. It was actually an acai bar, but they called it a health bar because nobody knew what acai was.
Okay. And what is that, by the way?
Acai is a Brazilian superfruit.
Okay.
Similar in size to a grape or a little bit bigger than a blueberry, and it grows like weeds on the banks of the Amazon. The Brazilians have been harvesting it for a long time. It's just recently entered the U.S. market, maybe 10 years.
Okay.
And thanks to a couple NFL players.
Okay.
But now it's entering the more specialty market, and so we form it into. Have you had an acai bowl?
Well, so I think I've been mispronouncing it. So it's acai, spelled A-C-A-I.
Yes, I got laughed. I almost got laughed out of Hawaii. I called it a kai.
That's what I've been calling
so
it. So
it's you should
That's why I didn't recognize acai.
Yeah, so it's acai. There's an accent on the C and the I.
Okay.
And so that's what we did in Hawaii. We made acai bowls, and I was at the time not really passionate about health, eating healthy in general. It was a good opportunity. They offered me it was a management position, and so I took it. And I was in a transition season anyway, taking a year off before med school. So I was looking for something that wasn't too difficult, that was fun. So my view I was working on the second floor above a snorkel shop in a little 300 square foot shack and looking out at the Pacific Ocean.
Sweet.
And so I could see, animal life and tourists, and it was just like, is this real life?
Yep.
But we were slammed every day. People would come up, find us. We were the top-rated TripAdvisor experience on the Big Island because of the ratings, and so people would find us, through digital, and they would come for breakfast, and then they were always so confused what we were actually serving. They would come back for lunch. They would come before we closed, and people just would go nuts for this product that my partner had created, or my partner, for the owner, Derek, had what he had created. So Derek didn't work very much. I managed the shop for him. He enjoyed surfing and exploring the island.
Just living the high life.
Living the high life. He built a great, very simple but very efficient system. Okay. And for the business side and the product side, so he made it so easy, like we could do it, a monkey could do it. Yep. To his credit. So I was just responsible for making sure people showed up to work and didn't go surf with them, essentially. Okay. So one day, this was about 2 months in, the only time I ever worked with Derek, he was covering a shift for me for an employee that was sick. And I think I told you I was an early adopter to Dropbox, and I signed up a lot of friends, and I have a lot of free storage on there. And the vice president of Dropbox comes in with her husband, and they're best friends. They're vacationing.
When is this roughly?
This is 2012.
Okay. Okay.
So cloud storage is early at this point.
Yeah. But Dropbox is even a big name at this point.
They are, especially in certain circles. Maybe not as mainstream. Like a lot of my friends and family didn't know who Dropbox was. Okay. But you're right, big deal. They hired her out of Facebook. Wow. She was the first female engineer at Facebook.
That's cool.
So Ruchi and her husband come in with 2 friends, and I'm on top of my game at this point. So she's asking me, what is this? And what about this? And what do you recommend? And you better not be wrong, because if you're wrong, I'm bringing it back and I want a refund. And I'm like, trust me, you're going to love it. Like, I've never seen a single person come back not totally amazed at what we were doing. So I can speak pretty confidently. Yep. And I'm like, I recommended what she needed to get, what she needed to add to it. And I'm like, you're going to love this. Trust me. And so me and the owner make it. At this point, I don't know who she is.
Oh, okay.
I don't recognize her.
Gotcha.
She could have broken the record for the fastest consumption of an acai bowl in the history of this company, because I promise you, I did not turn around before she was bringing back an empty bowl that looked like it had been licked clean.
So what does this look like? So the bowl that she would have had in front of her, what would that look like? What's in there?
Dark purple base that looks like ice cream.
Oh, fascinating.
Very dark purple, swirled around the outside, very thick consistency, and granola in the middle, fresh fruit on top, some dry superfood toppings. Her bowl had spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, in the base, granola, bananas, strawberries, blueberries, and hemp seed.
Oh my gosh.
And then a local Hawaiian
Can we get those
honey.
around here somewhere?
Dude, I was the first acai bowl company in Tennessee about 3 years ago. So that's my
So
bread
you're
and
making
butter.
them here.
It's my bread and butter.
Oh, okay. Do you have a okay? We're
have
getting way off track here, but so you do have retail stores here?
Uh-huh.
What is that company called?
The Franklin Juice Company.
Oh, got it.
So we have two retail stores, and then Honest Coffee Roasters in Huntsville sells them.
I see.
As well.
Okay. All right.
So,
I didn't know you could get acai bowls. You said the Franklin Juice Company. Okay, got it.
86% of our business.
Really?
We'll do about 800 on a weekend day.
Wow, 800 bowls. Wow.
Yeah.
So I've never had one in my entire life.
Oh man.
So I'm gonna be visiting and trying this.
You need to not just visit,
fantastic.
but let me come do the experience.
Let's do that.
That'll
I would
be more
enjoy
fun.
that. That would be
I'll
fantastic.
create it for you.
Okay, back to the story.
So she brings this bowl back, and it's literally licked clean. And before she says anything, I realize, okay, she's handing me the bowl. And in her right hand, in her left hand is a business card.
Okay.
Now, Kent, I had a stack of business cards next to the register because I'm not exaggerating. Every single day, someone would say, I want to do this in this state. Can you do this in this state? Please come to this state. I will help you in this state.
Wow.
There was no shortage of, obviously, Hawaiian tourists. You know, there's an affluence, and they've probably done well to be able to see an opportunity when it's presented to them.
Sure.
So I had a stack that, and I would, using kind of some discernment, some of them made it to the owner, some of them didn't. Okay. So he's there with me. She doesn't know that. She doesn't. So she hands it back to me and says, I want to open one of these in San Francisco. And I'm used to hearing this. So I start to do my normal spiel, like, oh, great, I'll make sure that we get you processed to whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, have an out of body experience when I see VP Dropbox. And I said, are you the vice president of Dropbox? I said, are you the vice president of Dropbox? And she says, yes. And I said, hang on. And so I take like 4 steps over to Derek, who's blending over here for me. And I'm like, Derek, you need to go talk to this lady. And so he steps out, and that was at the end of the day. I cleaned up the store. They ended up spending about 3 hours together. And
on the spot.
Yeah.
So she came in just to eat an acai bowl and wound up staying there for 3 hours talking about this with Brett. With Derek.
Downstairs.
Yeah. Okay.
So, long story short, they go out to San Francisco. Derek's like, okay, Brett, hold down the fort. So I do my thing, and he's calling and texting me. Oh, dude, I'm at Mark Zuckerberg's house. I'm pitching to. They want to do one in the Facebook headquarters. So he's texting me these updates, and I'm like, this is awesome. But wait a second, I'm a manager. I'm here. What? Okay, so fast forward 9 months. I tell Derek that I'm going home to Nashville and that I want a franchise. And so I'm standing at the bottom of the stairs, and he's like, Brett, just go do it. Like, we're not in a position to franchise. Just go do it. Okay. And I'm still thinking, no, like this brand and her, and I want to be connected. Yep. And so I'm still like bugging him the whole time I'm back. And so finally he's like, dude, we're just not ready. Just go do it. Mm-hmm. So he was so gracious to let me use all of the recipes, the sourcing. Part of the reason that they did such a great job was they had a source that was really top notch, acai, and then the process, of course. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll do it. Nobody knows what acai is here, but nobody really knew there either. Okay. So I opened a little store, and we started out selling a lot of juice, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, juice and acai are switching, and now we're pretty much an acai company.
So when did, and I'm gonna jump back to a point in the story there, but when did you move from Hawaii to Nashville? What year was that then?
Late 2013.
Okay, gotcha. And the Dropbox experience was 2012-ish.
2012.
And this Derek, I want to hear just a little bit more about him. How did he get into this to begin with? Did he create the recipe?
He did.
Okay.
Derek was he was Hawaiian, but his dad was from the mainland.
Okay.
His mom actually, I think, was from the mainland as well. Moved to Hawaii. He was raised in Hawaii, but his dad was a businessman.
Okay.
So he owned a property management company that actually tried to work for, and
tried to work for
his dad.
Okay.
And his dad hired a native Hawaiian, which I totally honored and respected. But we built great rapport, and then I ended up working for Derek, not knowing that it was his dad.
Oh wow!
But his dad was brilliant. He developed this amazing trash bag, got a patent on it that had an additional. Anyway, so Derek was raised in this business mindset.
Okay.
But he also loved to surf. In Hawaii, I mean, everything's so easygoing that there isn't this priority on progress. It's more a priority on happiness.
Okay.
And so once Derek built his business in a place where, hey, I don't have to work anymore.
Yep.
I can either keep building these, or I can hang out and just enjoy surfing. He chose that for a season until this opportunity came, and now he's building them on the West Coast. So
he's still in the business essentially.
He is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and is he now using the exact same recipe that you are, or has he tweaked it some, or have you tweaked it some, or?
That's a great question.
Is that proprietary information?
No. Me and him have exchanged. What are you doing? What am I doing? To help each other.
Yep.
And at this point, our volume has gotten to a point where we've had to tweak a little bit, but maintain quality.
Okay.
And so I have not tweaked the recipe. I've tweaked the process a little bit.
Okay.
We still have, it's so funny. We'll have people come visit, especially at our Nashville location, and they say, hey, I had this. This is just like the one I had in Kona, Hawaii. And it is. It's the exact same acai.
Got it. It's not a franchise. It's not the same brand.
Correct.
But you're actually eating the exact same thing.
You're eating the same thing.
So, I mean, have you had thoughts on actually, this is maybe a discussion we should have off the podcast, but I mean, I'm sure you've had thoughts on actually doing the franchising yourself on this.
We have. I have heard so many mixed reviews on franchising and then the startup costs. And I think we are at a point, actually, this is a timely question. We're at a point in our business where we have opportunity, and we're trying to decide what way do we want to go with this. Yeah. And but I have that same stack of business cards at my store too. It's like, oh really? It's still people love it. What I love about it is the health fanatics love it. It satisfies every, if you're gluten free, if you're vegan, if you're whatever. Yep. You can come and have our product, but people who aren't healthy can eat it and don't even realize that it's healthy. They don't even realize that it's a fruit.
Sure. Okay. So it's you're getting the good stuff in people, sort of the sneaky route.
The sneaky route. That's right. That's right. I like to.
If people
are
posting diets, they're going to like this just fine. You're going undercover. Absolutely. Good way to do it.
So yes, we are considering it. We'll see how.
Okay. So 2013, you moved to Nashville, and real quick, back on Hawaii. Are you single at this point? Are you married?
Married.
You're
married.
Okay.
Out of school.
So did you guys meet? Did you and your wife meet in Hawaii, or
met in college?
Here in Nashville.
Here in Nashville.
Okay.
Lipscomb.
Okay.
Lipscomb University. I'm a third generation Lipscomb alum, and we were actually going to go into medicine, and we're taking a year off actually. Okay. That got derailed. Okay. So we met, early on in school. Actually had started a relationship, and it carried through school, and we were kind of tracking together. Let's go to med school. She's way smarter than I am. I would be more of a distraction, actually, if you look at our habits. But it all kind of changed when we took that year off, got to Hawaii, and realized that I personally realized I would have gone crazy in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't fit my personality.
Okay.
I always say I might have been able to make it in the ER, but it's a good thing that I didn't go. She could have gone and been a great doctor.
Okay.
Once she saw that my passion for I guess she might have seen my passion for business before. I just thought it was a passion for coffee and juice.
Okay.
Coffee and acai, but she saw that and decided that instead she wanted to have a family early, and that she would find out how to pursue her passions in the midst of it, and then also on the back end of it as well. So she's an amazing wife, amazing partner.
Yeah.
Totally enables me to do what I want to do, and then now, I'm being able to help her do what she wants.
That's wonderful. Is she involved with you in all of the things you have going on, or do you kind of run those?
She is in different aspects. So
Okay.
in the juice obviously we're partners on everything.
Mm-hmm.
My name is on everything, but we're partners in everything. Mm-hmm. She helped me get the juice company started. So it was me and her in our kitchen.
Okay.
We were making juice before we actually had a storefront delivering. And so she was hands-on part of the team. And then we had our first. And so that was kind of the transition.
Okay.
She still will fill in. You can find her at one of the juice companies on days where we're short-staffed, and Charity will go fill in. And so she contributes in a lot of ways, chiefly keeping me sane.
Yeah.
and then also always has great perspective on creative problem solving. And
wonderful. Now, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you're 30 years old, quite
just
young, just turned 30, and it sounds like you have kids. How many kids do you have?
2 and 1 on the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep up with the Lapps.
Hey, well, you better get started, my man, because we're well on our way. Actually, we're about done. So you're 30, 2 kids, 1 on the way, and you have a lot going on. What is it about your personality that contributes to all of this going on? Is it a restless spirit? You like to start things, you just get excited about stuff and you jump in? You tell us a little bit about what all you have going on, because it's quite a bit.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm curious what has stimulated all of that.
Yeah, I actually just had this conversation an hour and a half ago with a friend who was like,
I wasn't
there.
Okay?
So. Yeah, no, it was like, you're doing a lot. No, it was a really great time. So I have a lot of ideas. I have never wanted to be the person who had ideas that didn't follow up on them. And
Same for me.
I don't like to talk about things that I'm not going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So early with my wife, I exhausted her because I talked about a lot of things that I wanted to do that I didn't do. And then I realized I'm really, taking my wife, I'm taking her all over the place. I'm saying I'm going to do this and this. And then I realized if this is hard for her, what kind of reputation am I going to build? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stop talking about what I want to do. And I'm just going to write about what I want to do. And then when I feel like I can do it, then I'll start talking about it. Because I realize there is value in talking about it, because you build momentum.
Yes.
You speak out the reality.
Yep. And
then you're holding yourself accountable now if you actually are going to follow up or not. So this is a learning process for me over the last 4 years. So at this point, I'm learning at what speed I can go, what roles I can play to get things moving that actually have viability and that are that I'm passionate about. And I'm passionate about a lot of things. So I'm able to do things that I'm passionate about and feel like can be good. Can provide a lot of value to people. So you want to hear about what I'm working on right now?
Yeah. Tell us what you're working on and just everything that you're involved with. I'd like to hear just what you're involved with and sort of what your role is with the different things you have going on.
Sure. So I'm involved with the companies that I started, Honest Coffee Roasters and the Franklin Juice Company. And at this point, I am an owner and a board member and a founder, and nothing day to day. I help with a lot with our digital, just we get called with a lot of questions and stuff, but I don't have a role here any longer. We acquired a Juice Nashville, the first cold pressed juice company in Tennessee. Great e-commerce platform. I got a deep dive into e-commerce and production and logistics. They were a Mars pet care husband and wife team, logistics marketing. So she was marketing formerly at Mars, and he was logistics. So they built a really great thing. Oh,
did they leave Mars, or did they did it on the
Mars.
side?
They left Mars.
Oh, interesting.
And launched this brand. They had 2 storefronts and a great delivery business.
Okay.
We acquired them, and that was 2016. So that's kind of, when I say the Franklin Juice Company, it's really the Franklin Juice Company and Juice Nashville. So those 3, and then I guess our friend Chris Thomas has a brand that I am part of in a very small way, but love telling people about. It's Eli Mason.
Yes.
I think it has tons of potential. And
Tell us about Eli Mason, please.
So I run on, I try to leverage all of my cash so Chris comes to me. If there's any operator that I believe in, it's Chris. Because he's so relatable, he's brilliant, has amazing experience, is an incredible storyteller, can create amazing experiences. So he could have come to me with, a napkin company, and I'm going to, if I have any cash to put in, I'm going to put it in.
Yep.
And so I wish I had more at that week that he came to me, but Chris Thomas from Made South acquires a brand that he feels like is really compatible with what he's doing with his personal brand. I told him a couple weeks ago, I said, dude, I think you're one of the biggest. I was putting together an influencer list, Nashville influencer list. He's one of the biggest male social media influencers through his brand in Nashville and probably in Tennessee.
Wow.
And I didn't actually put the pieces together, but Made South is such a personal brand for him. And for him to be able to acquire Eli Mason, who is a great brand, cocktail kind of in an industry that's really taking off thanks to the millennial habits of alcohol consumption and just the way things are changing. So Chris, brilliant to acquire Eli Mason, and they've got some really awesome products that great online platform, and they're building a really cool business with an awesome story and culture and products.
They really are. And just so everyone knows, Eli Mason is something you can buy for $10-$20, and you can get it off Amazon or a local liquor store or whatever. Put a little in with whiskey, and you have a really great old fashioned, just like that. You mix a little ice, and you stir it around. You have like a world class old fashioned, all natural ingredients. So we're really plugging Eli Mason pretty hard here, but for good reasons. It's good stuff.
It is. Eli Mason is the real deal, and I love giving it as gifts to friends who are home bartenders. Most of them already have it, have heard of it, or have it at their house. But
so this podcast episode is sponsored by Eli Mason and Honest Coffee Roasters. Okay, circling back around to everything that you're involved with. Did I cut you off with the Eli Mason, or were you wrapped up there?
This, I'll do a quick run through. That is leading up until about a month ago, right around when I met you.
Okay.
And now I've got a few more things going on that I'm really excited about.
Okay. Can we hear about them?
I am on a team that's launching a digital and print publication.
Okay.
It's called Father Magazine.
Okay.
And it's going to be a digital publication, lifestyle, and substance and business and all of the things that men are passionate about and doing, and that would be inspiring. And we're basically going to provide value by telling the stories of fathers and really bringing in almost not like a mentor, but like a guide to stories of fathers who have how they've succeeded, how they failed, what they're, not just in any necessarily any industry or demographic, but just good fathers. And we're going to tell stories, and we're going to get some really great content out of them, and style recommendations, and one of my good friends, Thomas Rhett, he's a country music artist, and he's an amazing father. So that would be an example of someone whose story we'll tell.
Okay.
Thomas Rhett, adopted from Africa. He has his own daughter. Him and his wife are in the public eye, and just he could not have maintained his realization of the importance of being a good father any better. So we'll tell his story. And I'm really excited about it. We'll do a digital, we'll do a print, and
fantastic. So I'm assuming that's not out quite yet, but will it just be fathermagazine.com maybe when that's live?
It will be.
So people can watch for that.
It will be. And so we'll produce a lot of great content. I'm excited about the team behind
that sounds fantastic.
And then I will be launching my third specialty beverage company this fall. It's called Ride Sally Ride.
Okay.
And it'll be our first retail location will be in West Nashville in the L&L Marketplace development off Charlotte Avenue.
Okay.
So this is going to be really fun because I love introducing things to people that they're familiar with in a different way. And this is going to be a product that people are very familiar with in one sense and very unfamiliar with in the way that I'm going to do it. So it's a ginger beer company is the simple way of saying it, but we're going to actually in the true essence of what ginger beer was meant to be mid 1800s in England, we're going to ferment the ginger beer instead of being a carbonated water product. We're going to ferment the ginger beer in the same way that kombucha, very trendy health beverage, is fermented. And so not only will it be a really delicious product, we'll add fresh juice, sweeteners, etc. It'll be something that you can, will enjoy drinking because it tastes good, but it'll also be a very healthy product, very probiotic rich, gut health rich, which is a very trendy topic. And it's also going to be a versatile cocktail mixer. So there will be a cocktail element to our retail store. We'll wholesale natural ginger beer is what I'm phrasing it as. Okay. We'll have a wholesale element to coffee shops and bars, and I'm really excited about this.
So a silly question: Is it a beer? It's actually
a small
beer.
Beer. It's a small beer. So
what does small beer mean?
Small beers are fermented beers. They are beers, but they're not like a beer in the traditional sense. They're a fermented beverage that has a low alcohol content.
Okay. So what is the alcohol content?
Very,
roughly?
very small.
Okay.
Almost where you couldn't measure it, but
okay, less than 1%. Like
1/10 of 1%.
Really? Okay, so this ginger beer that you're going to be selling has less than 1/10 of 1% alcohol in it.
It's fermented and it has alcohol, but it's not alcoholic in the sense of a beer.
I mean, what's the normal beer? 3 to 4%.
3 to 4
and then
to
wine's
5.
like 11.
Some high gravity beers.
Yeah,
and
that's
wine's
true.
11 to 14.
Yeah. Okay.
And but ginger beer is in this broader category of small beers, which also includes birch beer. If you've ever had birch beer,
I don't think I have.
Like the tree birch.
Okay.
So that was very popular up in Scandinavia.
Okay.
And so eventually, I hope to bring in a wide selection of small beers.
Okay.
They're primarily health and taste. So.
Okay. Okay. So
keep going?
yeah, keep going. Please don't let me cut you off. I can't believe that there's more, but it sounds like there might be.
No, I'm trying to hit the highlights. Thanks to the Lapp brothers, I'm very inspired in my my real estate career. So moving into real estate slowly, I'm buying single family houses and renting them out.
Okay.
One at a time in Columbia, Tennessee, and I see the incredible value of real estate and growing personal wealth. And thanks to friends like you and Ben, I realized that this is something that I really need to prioritize. And so it's not my only focus, but it's one of my focuses. And then with one of my good friends, I'm starting a production company. Okay. Where we found an opportunity here in Nashville to pick up some business. It's a long story, but we've already begun shooting TV commercials, kind of run and gun TV commercials. Very simple, no feature films or anything like that, but just seems like a good business, and we're having fun with it.
So do you have different partners for each of the things you have going on, or do you have the same partners in all?
different partners for each of the things that I have going on.
So like the ginger beer company, for example, are you going to involve a partner with that?
I will.
Okay. So I'm curious about your process there. So you probably had the idea and you sort of had the vision for it. And once you know what it takes to make that happen, then you go look for a partner. Is that what's your process for finding a partner?
That's what I did with Honest Coffee Roasters and the Franklin Juice Company.
Okay.
I'm approaching it a little different way because I've seen the pieces that I need. And it's kind of a business experiment in a weird way, but I'm actually putting together, before I go look for a partner, a financial partner, I'm putting the pieces together to create a real strategic team that an investment partner would see the value in beyond just me. Mm-hmm. So I'm having dialogue with Vayner Sports about one of their athletes in town who's a major health influencer along with his wife. So I want to bring, I'm putting together pieces like that. And even on the design side, on the building side, on the production side, to create the team that can then go leverage the collective power and abilities and creativity of the team to get a partner that feels really good about investing
and are you using sort of the ginger beer company as an example?
I am
for that. Okay.
Yes.
So you would assemble the team on design, the retail, sort of the celebrity exposure, just those types of things. You're going to assemble that team. But at this point, you already have, what you want the company to do. You already have the vision for it. You know that needs to be retail is one aspect of it. And you got the team. You're going to develop probably some sense of how much that's going to cost. And then when you're going out and look for a partner, you're looking for one person to come in and sort of partner, or you're looking for multiple investors? I'm just curious what your process is.
If it's the right person, I would prefer one.
Okay.
If it's a capital group, then it's a capital group. If it's a team, then it's a team.
Okay.
I think in this case, I would prefer one partner.
Sure. And then are you then the person leading that directly, or is one of those team members sort of the CEO of that new company?
So I'll be the CEO.
Okay.
And part of my experiment is even my accountant is, I'm going to get a lot of value out of this team without having to pay them all for, and they know this, without having to pay them for their services or their products. They're in exchange going to get equity in the company.
Okay.
So my accountant, it's a very tech forward, awesome accounting group. And so the initial investment for an equity partner, and I realize I'm trying to create a model that's really has potential to be successful and to take off. And in food and beverage, that's hard to do. And I was just looking yesterday at a list of all the restaurants in Nashville that have closed down.
Oh yeah.
It is shocking.
Yes.
And a lot of these were incredibly well funded. I mean, $1.5 million build outs, strong backing, and they closed down. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice to make something really successful, especially when I'm doing other things that I'm passionate about. So I'm in a place where I will steer the ship, but I want to bring people in who are also invested at an equity level.
Okay, that is interesting. Even your accountant, like you mentioned.
Even my accountant.
Okay, that's
Patrick
fascinating.
Luca Financial.
Okay.
Eli Mason's accountant.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, we need to get him to sponsor the podcast too right away. But yeah, I think you mentioned real estate, and what I like about you getting into real estate is that as you have all these other things going on, it's a pretty fair assumption to think that not everything is going to be golden all the time. So when you have a company or companies that are in a slowdown or not going as planned or anything like that, what's beautiful about real estate is it's a good sort of steady, consistent, potentially cash flow, but then also building equity over time. And there's tax benefits and there's passive income. Yeah. There's a lot to like about it. But real estate has saved my butt, during the times when we were growing, say, Woodtex, to the point that I wasn't taking a salary because we were trying to pour everything back into it. and we were living off of real estate. So I love that you're getting into that along with everything else. So
can I ask you for some wisdom then?
Yeah.
So, and I knew this about you, but within real estate, there's so many different things that you can invest in. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite? What's your, not necessarily, like a passion, but what have you seen the most success in and enjoyed the most?
Yeah. So and it is safe to call it a passion. So I invest for cash flow. So here's my sort of big block, very preliminary, short and sweet real estate advice for pretty much everyone.
Okay.
Is know whether you're investing for appreciation or cash flow.
Okay.
And I think either one's an actually totally acceptable answer. So investing for appreciation would look like you are in Nashville, you realize it's booming. Here's a good example of a sales center that I bought recently. The owner looked at the city maps and he saw where they were about to plan more sewer lines, and he could tell that the city was expanding in that direction, so he would buy some fields there. And then what do you know, 5 years later, when the city did expand that direction, he would sell them off.
Wow.
But in the meantime, those fields are not cash flowing. Uh-huh. It's a complete appreciation play. And then on the other hand, you might have, call it a single family home that you rent out or a multifamily apartment building. And those tend to be, not always, but those tend to be more of a cash flow play. So any real estate that I've actually ever bought, because that's basically my strategy, has been for cash flow. I'm just trying to think now real quick if there's been an exception to that, and I think there was one exception. But generally speaking, I like to invest for cash flow. Now, again, I think either is fine, but here's where people get into trouble with real estate is when they need both to make the deal happen. When you need both appreciation and cash flow to pay the note or whatever to make it work, I think you're really asking for trouble.
Okay.
But if you're aware going in, this is an appreciation play, and if that's the case, then don't plan on the cash flow.
Okay.
Or, hey, this is a cash flow play, and in which case run your numbers based on that thing cash flowing and assume it never will grow in equity. Just assume that. Now, most likely will, but if you need cash flow and appreciation to make a deal work, you're really asking for trouble.
So in that case, even if it depreciates for a season, you're
totally
still
fine.
Okay, right?
Totally fine. Because someone's in, 1 or 10 or 20 people in that building are paying you their rent, whether that thing's worth $100,000 or $500,000. They owe their rent. So it really doesn't matter what happens to the equity cycle of that property. The cash flow, in theory, will stay the same. The other reason that I like the cash flow play is because it is more recession proof. And so when we went through that real estate dip, my properties were worth less, certainly, but my cash flow was the same. And actually what happened was when people weren't buying as many homes, they were renting more. So it almost drove rents up a little bit at the exact same time where housing prices was going down. So yeah, I mean, I'd talk real estate for a long, long time. And I know there's, I'm a very, very small fish in a very, very big pond. I mean, I have friends that are in this to the nth degree that I'm not. But generally speaking, multifamily is what I would prefer to invest in.
Okay, multifamily. Yeah.
The only other thing I would say is commercial can be really great. There's a lot of money to be made in commercial, and the beautiful thing about owning commercial property is you have triple net leases. And so the tenant pays maintenance, insurance, and property taxes, and you just own it. The thing with that is you need to be sure that you can cover vacancies. If you have a 10,000 square foot warehouse, for example, and there's one tenant in there, it's all great while that tenant's in there, but if they move out, it could take you a year or two to fill. Whereas if you have a 10-unit multifamily apartment building, one person moves out, you have 9 other people paying rent. And so just that the multifamily residential model is a pretty, it's a more safe bet.
And as a leasee, I really enjoy when my landlords are giving me good TI, which can be capital intensive as well, right? In commercial real estate, having to pump out some money for improvements. Yeah, exactly. The only other thing that I would, and I'm happy to get into whatever you want to get into here, but the only other thing I would say on real estate, if someone is interested in getting into residential real estate in particular, I can't stress the value of good property management hard enough. And that was my start with real estate. Was my dad built out a 5-unit, a 10-unit, and another 5-unit
with the plans that mom would have that as an income source if he were to die from cancer, because he had cancer. Well, he did pass away, and mom got those multifamily units, but it wasn't making her very much money. So by the time I was 17, 18, I became her property manager, and we started to make a little bit more money. And that's what I could see is that. So there's one example of the difference between a bad property manager and a good one, in the difference of your property making money at all or really much. And second, fast forward from that point, fast forward 5 or 6 years, I'm running the family company. It's growing. I'm still managing my own. I bought those from my mother, and I'm managing them all myself, trying to save some money. Well, running a company and just with everything going on, of course, you're not managing those at the best that you can. So we started a property management company, and I would pay that property management company. It was run by someone else, the fair rate for paying a property manager. And the first year that I paid, I think at the time it was 8% management fee.
Okay.
I paid that property management company 8% management fee to manage those properties. And that year we made more money paying the fee than the year before when I was managing it myself and not paying the fee.
Wow.
Because it makes all the difference when someone moves out, if you get someone in there 2 weeks later or a month later versus 4 months later. That makes a big difference, obviously, in cash flow. So I'm a big fan of get a good property management company, pay them well, and make them do a good job for you, and be careful about managing it yourself. Some people can, a lot of people can't, and don't have time. So
I couldn't.
That's
I don't have time, but I'm glad that I couldn't, because, and I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I would have a hard time evicting someone, but from a business standpoint, I thankfully recognize that I would want to prepare for that situation.
Yes.
So I found a great property manager. It was 10%, but
yes,
totally. I mean, it makes it sustainable.
Absolutely. So I highly recommend that. But yeah, for all the reasons you suggested, I like real estate. Now, let me ask you this. So with a couple of these companies, I believe it was Franklin Juice Company and Honest Coffee, you mentioned your role essentially founder, chairman, board member. Can I ask about specifically the board aspect of that? How formalized have you gotten on establishing a board for one or multiple of these companies?
Very formalized on the Franklin Juice Company and Honest. Okay. Not to my credit, but to my benefit.
Okay.
The partners that we brought in. So rewind a little bit. When I got started in business, I thought business was retail. To me, retail was synonymous with business. So I'm like, okay I got to do retail, not knowing how hard retail is. Mm-hmm. And I get in there and I'm doing everything. Mm-hmm. And now looking back, I realize, okay, I was good at a few things. I was good at building a culture and a team and casting vision, and we're moving toward it, and people bought in. And so, okay, I enjoy doing that, and I was good at it. I was good at driving top line sales. And I thought, as if I can just drive top line sales, we're going to do well. And I was also good at product development and some branding and marketing. So I did not realize what was happening to our business because of what I was not focusing on. So it got to a point where I realized I need help. I have no idea what I'm doing. Brought in a financial expert, an operations expert, who totally brought such a viability and a sustainability to our business. And I've been in school for the last 3 years, essentially, being with them every week. So we were meeting every week to start to, repair a lot of things, but they were so amazing to recognize that I had the ability to drive sales and market and maintain our company culture. And they saved the business. I got an education, and now I love boards because I realize, man, I'm good at some things, but there's a lot of things that there's just total blind spots. And we need not just people who are good at everything, but also people who are seeing different things at different levels with the customer, with the over here, to really be able to move forward as a strong unit.
Mm-hmm. So in the case that you just mentioned there, do you have more members on this board then? And is this a formalized board where they have maybe equity or not, or voting rights and those types of things?
Everyone on our board for Honest and for the Franklin Juice Company are either partners
mm-hmm.
or high level employees.
Okay.
So we have our partnership, as well as our general manager who goes back and forth, another manager who goes back and forth, and then key employees within the businesses.
Okay, interesting. And does the board meet monthly or quarterly, or how often is the board getting together?
For a season, it was actually weekly.
Okay.
To really find, go through everything with a fine
mm-hmm.
tooth comb. And now we're moving to a monthly structure.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay,
fascinating. Well, that is something where in our companies we have not formally established boards yet, but as they grow, and it's something that we'll do at some point, but we've not formally established it at this point. So I'm just curious, looking to learn everything I can about that structure. Oh, let's see. So I need to pick the answers here, so we can make the best use of the time that we have. I do want to circle back around to. I think we can see some common threads sort of already on what you're involved with. But I was curious to ask you, what are the necessary ingredients for you to be excited about getting into something? You're obviously into many different things, but what are the common denominators, like the necessary ingredients for you to be excited about this production company or ginger beer company, Ride Sally Ride, or just the Father Magazine? What are those things that are necessary for you to be excited about involving yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's probably the most important question, actually. And really, this is a really good reflection time for me, but a reminder that my kids, when I became a young father, I very quickly realized that everything that I'm working on is only important because I'm building a legacy and I'm building a future and I'm building a now for my future generations. And it also helped me to see the generations that came before me who did the same thing for me, and really to honor my dad, to honor my grandfather, to honor my ancestors who have passed and who started paving the way in business and things outside of business as well. But since we're on the subject of business, so I had my first son, John Maven, and I realized, oh my goodness, everything I've been doing now means so much more to me. Like, it's so hard to explain if you don't have kids, but I now am doing things through the perspective of building a legacy for my sons and being able to learn things that I'll be able to teach them and to build things that can be passed down, which is why I love real estate. And because of the it's been here for a long time and it's not going anywhere. It's a tangible asset. People will always need a place to live. This is a tool that I can use not just to help improve communities. I love, in Colombia, I'm taking houses that people aren't living in that need to be repaired. And so I'm building something that's actually bettering the community. And so that's meaningful, but I'm also creating something that will continue to generate income for as long as it's in, my family. So I'm looking at things from a legacy perspective and also an immediate impact, which for me is health. My wife and I committed, shortly after coming home from Hawaii, that we were going to live a certain way and prioritize our health. And so I love that I can create businesses that actually, allow us to continue enjoying the products and benefiting from the products. And so there's nothing more rewarding than bringing home fresh juice, organic juice for my boys, and them getting a nutrient intake that I never had, and seeing how it benefits them and benefits them, as little humans who are, when their body is functioning in a really great, at a great level and great efficiency, that they pay attention more, they're sick less, they sleep well, they're, when discipline's a lot easier, because it's just like when their whole person is blessed, then it's just, life's a lot more rewarding, and it's a little bit easier too on some level. So yeah. I'm doing things from this perspective of building wealth and doing things that I'm passionate about, because I know that when I'm doing things that I believe in, I can come, and that are fun, and doing things with friends and partners that I love, I can come home and I can be what the dad that I need to be, and the stress is not, it's there because I do have the pressure of, providing, but it doesn't overwhelm me and consume me, and I can come home and really feel fulfilled.
Yeah. So my wife would give you a big old hug, because she resonates 100% with what you just said about health and affecting really every part of your life. And at first, as in, we've been married 12 or 13 years now. So at first I gave her a hard time for it, but now I totally see it, and I'm completely on board. So, and that led to a question that I did want to ask you is, it does seem like healthy, holistic, natural, beneficial, health is sort of a through point with what you're involved in. So have you always been interested in health, or was there a turning point for you?
Major turning point. Okay. Got to Hawaii, and I had 2 health issues that I've had for a long time. And because of the nature of Hawaii, you kind of are forced to eat fresh fruit. I mean, it's everywhere. Mangoes, papaya, strawberries, even the tea, grows fresh on the island, even the coffee. So you're forced into this culture where everything is fresh. And of course you can go, there are fast food chains, but we realize that we're eating a lot more fresh produce, fruits and vegetables than we ever have. And why, this health issue is going away. This skin issue that I've treated with topically is gone now. What did we change? Oh, wait a second. We introduced fresh fruits and vegetables into our diet. We stopped consuming as much meat and dairy, and we were out in the sun a lot. We're exercising, and there must be something to this. And so now I'm thinking back to all my science and biology and chemistry classes, and going in through my textbook saying, wait, what? I remember studying, look at all these viruses. What were their sources? These foods. And so I'm realizing food is totally the cause of why we're having so many problems. And if I can, be the healthier I can be, and I was thinking back to a financial advisor that I had seen, and he made a statement that your health is your greatest asset, because if you have the ability to work, then you can always produce. If you don't take care of yourself, you don't have the ability to work, then it doesn't matter what you're good at. You're limiting yourself. So from that point on, we started prioritizing health. We made a commitment to eat 100% organic in our home, which we have done since we came back to Nashville in 2013. Okay. And we just started, I'm like, okay, well, is there a juice company here? Well, there's one in Nashville. There's nothing in Franklin. Whole Foods has juice, but it's either pasteurized or non-organic. So let's just do it. Let's create an organic juice company. And there was no specialty coffee here at the time. You could get Starbucks, but there wasn't any coffee that was prioritizing the purity of the coffee, storing it in a way that no mold grows, sourcing organic coffee. So just like, man, we need this. we can, I have some experience. Let's go for it and let's just create it. We were so naive, thankfully, because if I had known everything that was going to happen and come at me and all the business challenges, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But
you did not knowing it.
I did not knowing it. I'm glad I did.
The Lord knows what he's doing.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because it's not for the faint of heart, but I'm very glad that I did it.
Yeah.
And health is a very common theme in what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So, and not to sidetrack on it, but are you saying then that Honest Coffee Roasters, you treat the coffee or using somewhat different coffee than the average coffee shop? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know about those differences.
Yes and no. There's been a major shift in coffee since documentaries started exposing, as often happens in different industries, some documentaries started exposing things that caused coffee producers in the U.S. to really have better standards and integrity. Mm-hmm. So we do a lot of things that other specialty coffee roasters do. We source directly from the farmer. So I have a relationship with our farmer, which is amazing because I know how much I'm paying him. I don't have to worry about how much is this company paying him or so I know how much I'm paying him. I know what crop I'm getting. My team goes down every year and we have this amazing relationship. And, I know his daughters. They're at the U.S. Open right now. They're tennis players. Cool. They went to Auburn and FSU. And so there's a relational depth that gives so much more meaning. You can be really proud of what you're doing, that you're changing people's lives. We're helping them raise money for a house that they're building because the volcano destroyed a house, for someone in their community. And so it's just, that's really special. That, to the health point, I know that he doesn't spray his crops with pesticides. In other countries, unfortunately in the U.S., there are neurotoxic pesticides that are legal to spray on our crops. In other countries, they have stricter, so you don't really know what's getting in these plants and in this soil. So I know that our farmers are not spraying.
Yes.
Some of our farmers are certified organic, some aren't, but the ones who aren't are not spraying pesticides. So I can come back home and say to our community, my friends and people I don't know who are enjoying our product, hey, this product is not causing you harm in this way. And that is another great feeling that I totally believe in what we're doing and providing someone a clean product. A big problem in coffee is coffee storage. If it's not temperature controlled, mold can grow on the coffee before it's roasted, and that can give people problems. Some companies even have disclaimers on their website. Companies who are storing coffee in large amounts have a problem controlling the temperature. So we very tightly control the temperature of our green coffee. And actually, I'm not going to go into this, but we just started carrying a coffee from India, and it's one of the 3 biodynamic coffees in the whole world. And biodynamic is a new standard of farming that has surpassed organic in its integrity and its standards of agriculture. And so I've been drinking biodynamic wine for the last 3 years, and biodynamic hasn't really made it into the public stream yet. It has its own certification. It's called a Demeter certification. And my friends that, in the produce industry have been telling me for a while, hey, there's this new method of integrity coming to agriculture, and it's called biodynamic. So it's hit the wine industry in a few small producers, and it hasn't really hit coffee yet. But there's a farm in India that we were in relationship with the owner, and I didn't even know it was biodynamic when we ordered it. I knew it was organic, and I knew it was from India, which is super cool. You don't get to drink coffee from India very frequently. Yep. And so it arrived, and on the bag it says biodynamic. So I had my roaster check with her, and it actually was biodynamic.
Very cool. So where does this coffee come from then?
The coffee that I brought, iced on drip. This is probably a blend of ours. We have one blend that we use for drip and ice, and it's a Guatemalan and a Colombian. So the farmer that I just referenced with the daughters,
where he was from.
So he's our Guatemalan coffee farmer.
Oh, okay.
So this would be 50%. I don't know what the percentages are on our Guatemalan to Colombian ratio. It's about 50-50.
Okay, fascinating.
So this is Guatemalan.
Very nice. You know, one question I was going to ask you though, because I know that now you own, a coffee shop, but before you were a barista, I believe, at some point, correct?
In Hawaii.
Okay. So, and I assume that that you know how to make a good espresso or can appreciate one. What do you want a good, is there, like, when you taste an espresso and say that's a good espresso, like, how do you what makes it good for you?
For me, I think flavor versus bitterness. So I cannot pull an espresso shot. I can pull a good espresso shot, not to the level that my team can, because every morning before customers come in, they're in there grinding the coffee, pulling the espresso shot, and changing the ratio, the time to wait to ratio of the espresso shot. Mm-hmm. So every day, if you come and look on our grinders, we'll have ratios on there. So say 38-second shot. So the water's running through the coffee for 38 seconds, and it's producing a 33-gram cup of espresso. And it's different every day. And tomorrow it might be 33 seconds and 31 grams. So they're fine. They're tweaking pressure, they're tweaking temperature, they're tweaking grind size, they're tweaking everything to get that espresso shot that doesn't hurt, that isn't like it burn, that little bit. So
well, it's definitely working. So I had my first honest coffee espresso just in the last couple of months, and I would put it top 2 of all espressos I've had ever.
Wow.
I mean, it really went down really great. So I was just curious what you look for in a good espresso.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I want to shift. This is shifting gears just a little bit, but I was curious. I know that. I know you're serious about your faith, strong believer.
Yes.
And this is the Gospel Business Strategies podcast, so it's okay to talk about God. I am curious.
Yeah, I hesitated on blessing. I forgot who we were speaking to.
Yes. No, you're good to go on that. So I am curious, how do you think about your faith, your belief in God, your love for Christ? How do you think about that as it relates to what you're doing in business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, from a foundational level, God created business. He loves business. And a lot of times it can be a dirty word, in the Christian communities, growing up, in my grandfather's, how he walked with the Lord, and my dad, and people can, so many, it's been used in so many different ways, and it can be kind of, like, you want to make money? Like what? But God created money. Mm-hmm. God created business. God gave us the ability to create wealth. I mean, I think a precursor to being a prophet was that you had to be wealthy. Like there's this stewardship, and there's a creativity, and so I love, I have had the blessing of having mentors that have championed me and not allowed me to ever feel guilty about desiring to create wealth, and also at the same time reminding me to be overly generous, and just to be myself. And so in the marketplace, there's a lot of secular, we're in the secular market, and for me, I'm very close friends with people who know who I am, who know what I believe, who trust me because I'm myself with them. I respect them, but I don't hide who I am. Mm-hmm. But I'm not forcing something. I'm loving them well. I'm honoring them. I just went to New York on Monday with a rabbi, a very close friend of mine, who I have learned a lot from, and he knows what I believe. Yep. And we have this amazing relationship, business relationship. Our families are close, and I'm not ashamed of what I believe or who I am, and I share it in that context of relationship, and also in our company cultures, we might not be Christian businesses on the facing, but we have biblical values, and we have the way that we treat people and try to treat people, customers and employees. So It affects every single thing that they do.
Yeah. Have you seen that modeled? Business for the glory of God, essentially, and business as in, hey, this is actually a morally good endeavor that we can be involved in. Obviously, it has the temptation, the opportunity to sin, like anything does, or to cause sin. Anything does. But have you seen business modeled well in your family or community, or is that something that you've sort of had to work through on your own in more recent years?
In my more recent years.
Okay.
So even my more recent days and weeks, I have in the last month and a half, even, it's something that I've had to work through. I've always wanted to maintain who I am and for my businesses to be an overflow of that, but I didn't get to see it modeled in the context of also a healthy business. So, you can have healthy culture and not a healthy business. So I'm in this season where I'm trying to learn, okay, what does it look like to do both really well? And obviously, if you affect a healthy culture with biblical principles, I think you have a better chance to have a healthy business financially. And I was sitting with a man last week who has a business, and they are the top sales. They're a business who sells the ATT home security and commercial security services. They're the top company that does that in America, but they're not just the top. The next 99, if you add them all together, don't equal the gross revenue of this man's business.
Golly.
And so he's sitting across the table from me, and he's affirming me, culture is everything. You're right. The culture is everything. And he's telling me how they champion their employees and the kind of atmosphere they create even for non-believing employees. And just everyone feels so blessed and honored that they perform so much better than they would. They buy in, they stay longer. They're there for years and years. And so I'm starting to see, okay, this is what it looks like. Oh, and this is what it looks like. And I'm consulting for a company right now who I have never seen the business structure they have. I mean, it's a whole new world for me, the way that they kind of layer things, and it's all in the context of kingdom business and family, and the way that they prioritize their time and their family and prayer, and not all their employees are believers, but they've created an environment where, the love of God it abounds, and people feel that. And even if they don't, believe the same thing yet or ever, that's for the Lord to really move on people's hearts. But from them to create that space for people, I'm realizing this can be really powerful stuff. Business as a kingdom endeavor, and I think the Lord just loves it.
Yes, I totally agree. And some people would say that business and money and profit and ownership and those things are morally neutral. I would argue that they're actually morally good things.
Come on, yeah.
Not just neutral. They're actually morally good things. Now, obviously, there's a temptation for that to turn into greed or self-sufficiency or selfishness. The list goes on and on. Just like any good thing, it has the temptation there for sin. But, you think of marriage, for example, that's not a morally neutral thing. That's a morally good thing created by God. There's opportunity for sin. And so business and money and wealth and ownership is the same way. It's not morally neutral. It's actually morally good.
Yeah.
And we need to have Christ as our ultimate ambition. So the second anything else other than Christ, we realize is actually becoming our ultimate ambition. Like we need this to work more than we need Christ. Well, then that's an idol, and then we need to work through that and repent of that. And also just to touch on prayer, that's just prayer is such a vital part. And this is something that I feel like we've been growing a lot in just in the last year. But, of course, having a Christian business is more than praying at the beginning of a board meeting. I mean, whether you do that or not, I think is really up to you. But if we do, what's been convicting to me is, if I look up and realize I have gone quite a stretch in business without praying about certain decisions or really any decisions, like what is behind that? Do I think God doesn't care? Do I think he doesn't have the ability to affect change? Do I think I'm good enough on my own? Like all those things, well, no, all of those things are silly to think about. So then it's like, well, why are you not praying, Kent? Are you too busy? So that's been really convicting for me, and really just what I've been trying to grow in is taking the small opportunities for prayer on the way here, on the way home, when you're in your car, just those types of things, and sort of taking the extra minute after lunch maybe, and just sort of trying to make prayer more of a part of my business life or really life in general, and
I
not
love it.
5 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes at night or something, so.
Yeah. I love the verse, acknowledge the Lord in all your ways and he'll direct your paths. Like, I think he loves when we're just, moving it, and we're like acknowledging you're here with me. Like, hey God, like,
yes,
you're here with me. I love you. Like, just, it's like this relationship that it doesn't have to be pause, pray, like to your point at the beginning of a meeting, but going in, and if an employee is working through a hard whatever, stop and pray with them. Yeah. If you're trying to solve a problem, acknowledge the Lord. Like, he can, the answer is it comes from him.
Yes.
So I love that picture, like to your point of, it's not just a start and stop, but it's a constant flow and a constant.
Yes, totally agree. The Bible says things about our status in Christ and about our union with Christ that we would never dare say on our own. But the Bible says it about us, so it's true. So we can believe that and claim that.
That's right.
And that needs to be part of our DNA. I completely agree.
Good.
All right. Well, to make good use of your time, I think, and what we have here on the podcast, I think we need to wrap this up. So the last question for you is, a lot of our listeners are business owners, business leaders, that type of thing. But I want to ask you specifically, if you were to give advice for someone that may be listening to this that hasn't started their own business yet, maybe, but they have sort of a dream or they have a goal, and they would like to. You started a lot of different things, clearly. What would be your advice like to that specific person?
Yeah, I would say, I'm thinking back to when I started my first business. I thought I had to have everything. So I truly believe that planning determines success. But I also know from my own experience that you can over plan. And so I remember I was sitting, my wife was working at Starbucks, and I'm getting free coffee. So I'm there all the time working, and I had created my business model. I, started developing products, and then I realized that I'm just doing this because I'm scared. I realized that I was actually afraid to jump into it, but I wanted to. And so overcoming that, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm creating a business plan. I think it's, okay. And I remember reading a Walt Disney quote, and so I'm sitting at Starbucks looking out at this brick wall, and I took a picture of the wall, and I drew a little quick graphic on the wall on the picture, and I kept it as a favorite in my phone, and I would look on the background on my phone. I would look at it every day, and I wrote this quote: "The best way to get started is to stop talking and start doing." So that's for me when I realized that I'm maybe not doing it, not because I'm not prepared, but because I'm afraid. This is a big thing for me, because I never want to be controlled by fear. And so my personal motto brand that I want to build is and that I use a lot, and my friends will be able to testify to this, but it's a DBA. So it stands for Don't Be Afraid. So it's on my books, it's on my computer, it's everywhere, and I see it every day, multiple times a day. Every time I open my notebook, it's embossed on my notebook, DBA. And people ask me about it. What is DBA? It's my reminder to myself, don't be afraid. Yes. So don't be afraid. If it's, whatever it is, start doing something. If you've planned it out, you can see maybe the vision for it. Start doing something. Start producing content. Just start doing something to build momentum. And because if you don't start pushing the ball, it's not going to move by itself. So just get some momentum and see what happens. And I think that would be my advice, would be to start.
Don't be afraid, and stop talking and start doing it. I love it. Well, thanks for being on, man.
Really Thank you for having me. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Thanks, Kent.
Great. Thank you, man. Really.
Yeah, bro.
It's wonderful. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, I'm glad to do it.